we're here with Stephanie to talk about her volunteer experience teaching high schoolers about endometriosis. In your words, what is the EFA's Empower Project?
Well, the Empower Project, in my words, I guess, is an opportunity to teach high school students about endometriosis, exactly what the disease is, how it can impact a person suffering, and also how it can impact a family that's dealing with a loved one who's going through endometriosis.
And how did you first get involved with the project?
Honestly, I was just, since I have endometriosis, I was looking for support groups or anything that I could find in the city that was related to endometriosis, stumbled upon it online and sent in my information, and the rest is history, and I've been volunteering ever since.
Walk us through what it's like to teach the interactive lesson plan in high schools.
Okay, so when you first go into high school, you kind of don't know what it's going to be like. Teenagers are kind of different sometimes. Sometimes they're excited about you being there, sometimes not so much. But I think it's a really interesting time for them because they're getting to learn about something that they don't always get to hear in their curriculum. Oftentimes, we'll come in and present the Empower Project after they've learned about the reproductive system, so it's kind of timely. And a lot of them will have questions about what's going on. We have two different types of lessons. The first lesson is an interactive lesson, which is a guided reading. And it basically walks through the journey of a 13-year-old girl, I believe her name is Lauren, and it's her whole journey of finding out that she has endometriosis. So it's from the time she gets her period to finding out, we're having bad cramps, and then not knowing how to talk to her mother about it, setting up a doctor's appointment, what types of questions she needs to ask the doctor. And so because, this is something that's happening to a high school student who's involved in sports, I think they mentioned that, she's on the basketball team, or, she's preparing for school dances or something like that. It makes it very relevant because these students are going through those same types of events. They're trying out for sports, they're going to their homecoming dances, all these things that are happening. And it makes them very interested in the story because it's very real. And so for the students, a lot of the girls will ask questions, but what's, I guess, really surprising is a lot of the guys will be very interested in what's going on as well. Sometimes, they'll ask questions during the lesson, or other times they'll wait till after the lesson and say, hey, this might be what's wrong with my sister, or, it's just very interesting to kind of have everyone engaged. We also do a second type of lesson, which is kind of Jeopardy themed, so they have the questions on the board and they pick how, the amount, Jeopardy has 5, 400, 300, 200, 100, and they'll pick and they'll get to ask a question. They get in groups and work together. But it's basically the same information, just implemented in another way. I feel like it's a little bit more advanced. But the kids are really into it, and I think it pairs nicely with, like I said, they've just done the reproductive system and they've experienced all that lesson in their health class or in their science class. And so it just pairs nicely with what they're learning, and it's kind of in an interesting way, not so much reading from the textbook.
How do kids react to the end of the lesson? Does anything surprise you about how they end the discussion?
I think sometimes it's very surprising, even though these kids are like, a lot of them 13, 14, it's very interesting, I guess, in some regards, what they already know, just because they are starting to learn about stuff a lot earlier. And one thing that I really love is when, we'll have some kids in class who maybe aren't paying attention, they might be dozing off or whatever. Not the majority, just a few. But, when one of the students chimes in and says, you need to listen to this. This is important, This could happen to you, or this could happen to someone you love, and then they'll explain what you've just taught them, in a lesson, and it's like one of those proud moments, like they're listening, they're paying attention to what this is. But I think, I guess it's just most surprising that, and I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but it's when the students come to you after class and they say, I think this is what's wrong with me. Can you help me? And I just feel like, thinking back to when I was that age, how I felt like I was the only one, this Empower Project gives them the opportunity to connect with other people who are going through this, to connect with that information. And it's such an important piece, I think, of a curriculum or just, any information that you should get growing up. So I think that's something that's really important.
You just covered this a little bit, but what do you like about teaching?
Well, I always love kids, teenagers, little kids, babies. I love them all. And so being able to, go into the classroom and hang out with them and make it fun. Like, they have to be in school every day, and they're learning. It's the same old thing every day. But this is something that's different, and it's relevant. And so I enjoy being able to, kind of walk around, talk to the different groups when they're working their groups about, the lesson, and they will come to me after and ask me different questions. And, I would say probably 75% of the time it's about EFA or Empower Project. But sometimes it's just, they just want to connect with somebody, who's just in their class. And so I think it's a fun and rewarding experience at the same time, just to have them, come up to you and tell you that they're going to pass this along. This information that they learn, they think it can help someone else. It's that feeling of, wow, I think I helped someone today, and knowing that they're going to take that information and help someone else, there's just nothing greater than that feeling.
What motivates you to keep teaching lessons? Is it that feeling or anything else?
I would say that feeling, but then I have my own selfish reasons as well. I feel like for me, dealing with endometriosis and having dealt with it for so many years, I feel like I finally have a way to get revenge on the disease. So when I'm having a really bad day, yes, it's a rough one to get through, but then I automatically email or call the EFA and say, hey, how can I help? When's the next opportunity for an Empower project? I want to volunteer. I feel like that's how I get back at the disease. Like, you're not going to keep me down. I may have suffered for a day or two or whatever, but I'm going to be back in the classroom, and I'm going to be spreading the knowledge and making sure that these kids don't have to go through what I had to go through.
Great. Thank you for being with us, Stephanie. To learn more about the EFA's Empower project or become a volunteer teacher, visit endofound.org.